I'm your host, Bonnie Wiscombe, and this is Burning Brightly, a podcast for moms of faith who are feeling called to share their light with the world, but wonder if they're prepared for the task. As a life coach, entrepreneur, and mom to a large family, I'm honored to be your guide as you face this exciting new phase and begin making your mark. This is where we help each other find the courage to shine. Hello and welcome to Burning Brightly. You guys, I'm so excited to be here with episode number 1 of this brand spanking new podcast. I can't wait to dive in and tell you all about what I mean by burning brightly and what you're going to get out of this podcast. But first, just a teeny tiny intro about me, who I am, why you might even want to listen, or whether or not I have any qualifications at all. So I am a mom, first and foremost. I have 10 children. We homeschool them all. That's why I'm going to say right up front, please excuse any background noise. I do the best I can to record this and my other podcast, but inevitably it happens. We have 10 kids, ages 2 through 17. We have 4 boys and 6 girls, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I love building businesses. We're going to get into that in a minute. But first and foremost, I am a life coach, certified life coach, and I own a couple of product-based businesses. And I have been in business for myself in one form or another for about 8 years now, which is super exciting and kind of unbelievable. But every last minute has been so enlightening, such a growth experience, and I can't wait to guide you through the same thing if that's something you're interested in as well. So like I said, I have another podcast as well. It is called Outnumbered. As you can guess, it's about large families, and I have a co-host on that one. It's Audrey, and she is a mom of 9 kids, and we talk all about large families and how to manage the chaos of that, or just systematize your life as a mom in general. So go check that one out as well. Now, one thing that both Audrey and I have noticed in the past few years is there's this distinct movement amongst moms, and I would say especially amongst faithful moms, who are feeling the call to put themselves out there. Meaning, for most of them, it means starting a business of some sort. It also might mean creating some sort of service initiative or giving back to the community in some way. It's some sort of putting their talents and skills out into the world. And what I've noticed is that I think there's a couple of reasons for this. The first one, I think, is because we as modern moms have a lot more time and energy left over at the end of the day than moms did 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, right? We might disagree with that because we like to pack our days full of soccer carpools and lunch with friends, and maybe we work outside of the home, whatever it may be. But really, truthfully, we're not taking our clothes down to the river to wash out. We're not, making our food from scratch. So we have a lot more time thanks to modern conveniences. So the question is, what are we doing with this time and this energy, right? In addition to this, we all have the internet. The internet is this magnificent, miraculous, amazing invention, which means that we can stay home and be predominantly stay-at-home moms, caretakers to our children, while still putting our genius out into the world, which is really, really amazing. So I think this combination of these two things, more time and energy for ourselves and for anything that we feel called to do, plus the invention of the internet, means that these faithful moms who maybe otherwise might not have had the chance to put their voice out into the world now are getting the chance. And for some of us, it is so exciting. And for others of us, it is terrifying. And usually it's somewhere in the middle, right? I have for sure felt excitement and terror and overwhelm and insecurity and the old imposter syndrome, all the feelings when putting my content and skills and talents out into the world. But this is what this podcast is about. It is for those of you who are feeling like now is the time. Maybe your kids are getting just a little bit older. Maybe your baby went to kindergarten, or maybe your baby went to college, and you're sitting around looking at your life and thinking, I don't have to change diapers. I don't have to make dinner all the time. I don't have to scrub and pick up like I used to. What is this next phase all about? So I personally, as a mom of faith, really believe that this is God inspiring us to go out and do something more with our lives. And I am so honored to be here supporting you if this is your phase of life as well. So when considering names for this podcast, I kept thinking about the scriptures in the New Testament that talk about being a candle that is set on a hill, right? Christ's followers were told to shine brightly, to not hide ourselves under a bushel, right? To be an example for good, an example of joy and compassion and service and love and all these beautiful Christ-like qualities. To show the world what it looks like to have a family and to love that family. to raise it and nurture it and make it your number one priority, to serve those who maybe might never pay you back, right? Or might never even be grateful, but to be this example of Christ in everything that we do with no need for reciprocity or being paid back, right? That is what a real Christian woman does. And when we feel called to do this outside of our home, I really think that that is coming from God. So like I said, for me, this has meant using and developing talents to build a business, or multiple businesses. Actually, I've had quite a few and it's been a wild, really fun ride. But for some of you, it might mean just standing up for your beliefs. It might mean, showing up on social media as someone who does not accept the current way of thinking, right? Or maybe pushes back a little bit at trendy social constructs. It might mean starting a charity organization or some sort of service initiative that really, really lights you on fire. Regardless of what it is, it involves tapping into our beliefs that we hold most dearly and then getting uncomfortable, right? If you are a woman of faith, chances are good that you have felt uncomfortable in some way or another because of your beliefs. Maybe you've had to stand up for them. Maybe you've had to express your discomfort when someone was speaking unkindly or using foul language or doing something that wasn't in keeping with your beliefs. So we should be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? But some of us, especially through our motherhood years, just kind of sit back into the comfort of our home and don't leave a lot, don't show up a lot in our society, in our community. And so it can be very scary and overwhelming to step into that limelight a little bit, to step into this place of visibility and to acknowledge that this is something that God is calling you to do. So I totally recognize that and know that you are not alone. Now, I know what you're thinking. A couple of things, right? First of all, do I have to accept this call? And of course, the answer is no. You don't have to do anything. That's the miracle of agency, right? And of being able to make your own choices and come to a decision all on your own. That's why saying yes is so powerful, because we get to use our God-given agency, our power to choose, to put goodness out into the world without expecting anything in return. Now, that being said, if you choose to build a business, eventually you will expect to be paid. And I'm not saying that everything we do to put our goodness out into the world has to be for nonprofit. I don't believe that at all. I believe in exchanging value and putting goodness and light and beauty out into the world and having people exchange money for that as well. That is going to be part of how we grow and become the best versions of ourselves. But just acknowledge to yourself before things get too scary that this is entirely within your power to choose yes or no. In fact, there were quite a few times that I felt called to something more that I said no to, mostly because it wasn't the right time for me. When all my babies were little, at one point I had 7 children, 12 and under, and that was not quite the right time. Shortly thereafter, I actually did start Outnumber the podcast, but all that to say, there were many years when I said, no, my priority is to be with my family. I don't have a lot of time outside of that role. And so I'm going to say no at this point. But I was always open to considering it, right? And that's all I'm asking for you, is to just maybe consider, what would that look like, answering this call and stepping into this feeling of moving forward. Okay, the other thing I know that you're thinking is this, but I don't have anything special. I'm not a talented artist. I'm not an eloquent speaker. I'm not good on video. I don't know how to use the internet. I hate social media. Any number of those things could be really convenient excuses to sit back and not step into this light and not burn brightly. However, I will say this, that wherever God calls someone, he also qualifies that person. So all you need is a willingness to say, maybe this is my time. Maybe there is something for me to do. When we are able to open our hearts to that willingness, it is amazing what can happen. As I have looked back over the past 8 years at all the opportunities and talents and gifts that have been given to me because I've taken a chance on putting myself out there, it's incredible. I really feel like I'm a completely different person now than when I first started my business and I first started dabbling in learning new things and growing. It's just incredible what God can do for you if you are willing to just kind of step into the dark a little bit. Now, if you're still wondering, but what would I even do? I want to give you just a few examples of incredible women that are out there nailing this. Just amazing examples of those who are putting brilliant beauty and goodness out into the world because they feel called to do it. So one is a blog friend of mine who teaches art and calligraphy. And so she literally puts beauty out into the world. But the best part is she teaches others to do it as well. So they come to her website, they sign up for her classes, they watch her incredible art online on social media, and they get inspired. And then they get to go and create that amazing art for themselves in their own lives. But it's not just about creating beauty for them. It's about tapping into that part of them that says, there's something more for me to develop. There's something more that I can give to the world. And whether it's just beautifying the walls of their own home, or whether it's, pushing them out of a mental health crisis, or whatever benefit they get out of that hobby, it is extra goodness that's being put into the world because of my amazing friend. Pretty cool, right? Another woman that I know created a service initiative specifically for small children. So she has 3 small children, and she remembers looking around thinking, I would love to give my kids service opportunities, but no one will take small children. Everybody says 16 and up, right? Because small kids are not particularly helpful. And she said, no, there has to be a better way. So she created an organization that does monthly service projects specifically for little kids. So they all get together and pack care packages or, color cards for military personnel, any number of things that little kids can do, and they get to participate in this really cool service project that otherwise they'd be left out of. So pretty amazing, right? And not only is she helping benefit those who her organization is serving, she's benefiting all the people who come participate, and not the least of all, her own children, which was the whole purpose, right? She wanted them to get a taste of service. There's another mom I follow on social media who feels really passionately about protecting her children and other children from the dangers of the internet. So she's taken it upon herself to teach people, specifically parents, how to keep their kids safe, how to make screen time work for them so that their kids don't fall into the trap of all the dangers that are out there. This is something that I'm also super passionate about. So it's been so fantastic to see someone doing this way better than I could ever do, and using her talents and skills of, warning and watching out for others, and to tell parents how to do the same for their own children. So beautiful. The last example I'll give you is of a woman who channeled her love for reading into an online movement that embraces the power of reading aloud to your children, to other children, to the neighbors. And it is beautiful. There's a podcast and a blog and books and everything you can think of to help inspire families to read out loud more to each other. So some of these ideas and topics are really specific, and sometimes you might even think, would there be a following to this? Would there be people that even care about this? And the answer is yes. If it's important to you, or you feel a call to do it, it's going to be important to someone else, and you will find someone who feels the same and is super interested in what you have to offer. In reality, the examples are absolutely endless. I challenge you to get on Instagram and find 5 to 6 women doing incredible things with their gifts and talents, and jot them down. Give yourself some ideas so that you know that whatever talents you come up with, God will have a way to help you expand them. Once again, I know you are probably thinking, but I don't have any talents or skills or an education. But I will say this. I believe that denying the talents and growth that God has in store for you is denying the God who gave them to you. So if you believe that He is a good God, which we know He is, and that He gives all of His children gifts, then you have to believe that there are some for you. They just might be a little bit dormant or hiding. You might need to do some uncomfortable work to discover them. You might need to just start sharing them in order to develop them better. But I know that they are there. Be humble and be patient. Be willing to take the time to develop yourself. Be open and willing to any opportunity that God sends your way, even if it sounds terrifying. And finally, be excited for what lies ahead, because you have no idea what is coming. Please, please don't close any doors until you have fully considered them, because you never know what lies on the other side. If you love video, you can also find this podcast on YouTube under Bonnie Wiscombe, and you can expect a short but sweet podcast from me every single week. I'll talk to you next time. Are you looking for even more wisdom and encouragement to burn brightly? Click the link in the show notes to download the free starter guide to building a business of your own, or to schedule a free coaching call with me. And if you loved this episode, don't forget to share it with a friend who might be feeling the call to burn a little brighter. Thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you next week.